And now it's time for the panel debate, and I would like Anna Linusson to enter, as well as Katarina Beam, Helen Clayton, Kia Salin, Christina Rudén. She's gone? Yeah. Pauline Göthberg, Ignacio Sanchez Diaz, Bengt Mattsson. Är det okej för dig? And Joakim Larsson. Whoops. So move the flowers. So sorry. Do you still? Yeah, there we do have the sound again. Nikolai and I have prepared 2 questions, and we have only 30 minutes for the panel debate. So we think that we start with these questions, and then we let in the audience if we have enough room. And I would like to start with the first question, and that is from your organization and from your perspective, what will be the next step? And you can think from a global perspective, a European or a Swedish national perspective or level. And may I start with you, Anna?
Yes, and the question was, what will be the next step, right?
Yes.
And then I'll take that question from a national level and say that we will follow the pilot studies we have to see how they work, and also to see how we find the evaluation, and if it seems to be working, we would also go further and see at what other places in Sweden will it be interesting to have cleaning of pharmaceuticals in the wastewater. But there's also this other level that comes along with this step, and that is trying to influence so that we have what I heard some people say was lacking, some more political leadership within this area that actually looks at the whole picture. So in a way, when we have too much discussion of end of pipe solutions, it seems like we're going back 40, 50 years in time. So also to try to influence so we have more political leadership to look at the whole picture.
Yeah.
Those 2 steps.
Thank you very much, Anna. And Katarina, please.
Thank you very much. I echo, of course, a lot of what you're saying. On a national scale, I'd say we really want to continue the dialogue with various partners that we have already begun the engagement with. Which ones it might be, we'll see. But hopefully we can get financing for a pilot project. That will be one step. We are really excited about the green procurement or environmental procurement work within Sweden and with SLL. And I'd also want to underline we'd like to contribute to bridging the gap between environmental policy and the policies that guide the pharmaceutical industry from the social department ministry, because there is a clear disconnect there today. And when it comes to international work, we're very excited about the dialogue that we have with UNEP and the work that we have started with suppliers, and we have some extensive supplier work in the textile industry, and we feel that there's quite a lot of work that we could build on there. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Katarina. And Kia, please.
There was one sentence that I thought was very good on your picture, Nikolai, saying that we need a political framework and incentive structure. And I think concerning the political framework, we really, and it has been stressed several times here, we need political leadership. And we have to have a legal structure, really. That is the stick. But we also need the carrot. And so we have to have the incentive structure with the voluntary, and that will be the carrot. So we need to work on both ends, and I think that is very important. And second, I think also that was suggested by the Mr. Pharma network, that a center for these, bringing those stakeholders together should be created. And I think we need to go further and have an arena, because this is very much like in the health sector, where several authorities dealing with these issues, and we need to have a platform where we need to bring these together.
Thank you, Kia. And Helen?
I think it's evident that it's got to be the roadmap and then the strategic approach from the EU perspective, and that then does provide some of the leadership that people are asking for, and hopefully we can achieve that within the next 12 months.
Yeah. Yes. Thank you very much, Helen. Pauline?
Yeah, I think from our perspective, it's about developing clear and shared sustainability criteria together with key stakeholders. The agency should coordinate this, but also to develop clear and shared methodologies for follow-ups. Because I think follow-up is a key here.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's it.
Ignacio?
So for us, perhaps right now we will start with the implementation of the questionnaire, and we will start collecting all the environmental information that will lead us to develop the green procurement criteria for other products besides the antiretrovirals that we did already. So that's also kind of the next step. Do the practical implementation of these criteria in specific products. And then, of course, we are trying and we are intensifying now the engagement with the suppliers and manufacturers. As Katarina said, water is one of the main areas, and we heard already from suppliers that this is one of the main focus areas also for them. So we are really willing to facilitate this process between some of the technical experts and the manufacturers.
Yeah, thank you very much. Joachim?
700,000 people are estimated to die from infections with antibiotic-resistant bacteria on Earth today, and this is projected to increase quite rapidly. The WHO really advises a perspective where you include both animals and environment and human uses. And that's where the environment comes in, and I think that it's really important that we do apply the precautionary principle and start acting. And I really look forward to see, and I don't know which one of these different initiatives to reduce emissions of antibiotics that will be most important, whether it's the procurement, whether it's working through environmental risk assessment procedures, whether it's actually making is all more transparent to put pressure on industry, or voluntary initiatives from industry itself. So I really look forward to see that. Yeah. But I don't know which would be most important.
Thank you, Joachim. And Bengt?
And at least my short-term priorities are pretty straightforward for me on the international level. We'll keep on developing the Eco-Pharmaceutical Stewardship Initiative, and I'm looking forward to several more meetings with Helen and BioIS. And here in Sweden, since I'm the project leader for the environmental assessment case study on OTC products, I really need to be successful in populate that case study with products. So I'm reaching out to my entire, all the colleagues from the pharmaceutical company. Please volunteer with your products, because we need this one to be successful.
Thank you very much. Bengt?
Exactly. We will open this for another round, and since you actually all more or less answered already the second question that we had been thinking about, and that is who is your partner for that, I want to reframe that or put it in a different way and say, what's the largest risk for what you're planning to do? What's hindering you, or what's the largest risk for not succeeding in what we've been discussing today? Maybe we'll just turn it around. It's easiest.
Well, if I start out with what I said last, if no one of the pharmaceutical companies volunteered to be a pilot, be part of the pilot, then I'm sucked. So that's a very short term, once again, risk. Long term, I actually think that although we are in many cases in good agreement on what needs to be done, we might still end up by not actually being able to deliver and come up with systems that are really put in place and deliver. And I believe that probably comes back to what a lot of people have said, political leadership. And how do we change a system which is so extremely complex? And I am concerned, I have to be honest with that, I am concerned by the fact that we as a society always go for the lowest possible price. That might be a big problem if we actually want to make a change. Remember that you always get what you pay for.
Yeah. So I think one of the most important challenges for change is the lack of awareness. Here in Sweden, we are actually, in relative terms, quite aware of the issues with pharmaceuticals in the environment. But if you go to many other countries, it's a much less discussed thing, and therefore it's not so high on the political agenda. So increasing awareness, I think, is key. We saw 2 weeks ago there was a documentary on Norwegian TV that Pauline mentioned, 1-hour documentary on antibiotics resistance and antibiotic pollution. And immediately had the health minister and the representative of the industry organization in Norway promising action immediately in TV. So I think that awareness is key and critical.
Well, I'm going to be a little bit not politically correct with my United Nations system. So, United Nations can be a risk. There is this kind of joke that you take a problem, you put a lot of people from the UN in the same room, and after 4 years they will come with a lot of policy papers and all that, but they will not come with a solution. So, being said that, I think that basically sometimes it's difficult when and we've been discussing also that in one of the coffee breaks. It's kind of difficult when you feel the pressure of delivering for some developing countries. I mean, our program sometimes is we face this pressure from donors from the countries that they are every day putting more pressure on us on just delivering and getting reduce the price of the medicines that we are sending to some countries in Africa, for instance. So that's a difficult situation. So in that sense, I feel like even though there is a risk of being loose in so much discussion between the agencies and all these policy makers, I think with this initiative we are really tackling the problem from a very operational perspective, and the results are like for the first 2 years we have started introducing some of these criteria in the tender process. So I think we are going in the right direction.
Well, I want to emphasize, I think, what Joachim said, because awareness is probably the biggest obstacle, because, I mean, considering the high risks that are associated to the development of multi-resistant bacteria, no action is not an option, I think.
I think that one of the risks that we face, thinking of it from the perspective of someone working within the Commission, is that the greatest emphasis at the moment, as a summary of the Commission priorities, is jobs and growth. And in that respect, although I don't dispute that jobs and growth are important when you look at the state of many European countries at the moment, environmental priorities are also important, and we need to be sure that the awareness of those is great enough for them not to be given too little priority. And indeed, that in this case and in many others, we recognise that environmental priorities and jobs and growth are not mutually exclusive.
Many wise things said. So I see as maybe could be a obstacle if there's a lot of energy right now in this issue and many good initiatives, and if we don't coordinate, there could be a problem with you're draining the resources on many different arenas. If we are, for example, we discussed the procurement. If we don't could unify the criteria is one thing. If we discuss availability of the information, where should it be stored? We can't store it in many different databases, then we will drain the total resources. So I think the platform for how to unify and use the resources the best, I think that would be very important in the future.
Thanks. Well, I think that there is no easy answer to this very complex issue. There is no one simple answer. As we have heard today, pharmaceuticals, I mean, they're chemical substances. Sweden is a very strong proponent of strong chemical legislation in Europe, but chemical legislation related to pharmaceuticals does not go under the same umbrella. Only there, that first step shows us the complexity and the difficulty of the issues that we have to challenge. And I think that, I mean, the work with the cluster group has been incredibly interesting, but also the weakness in it is that it is a consensus process. So in order to have everybody stay aboard, well, we kind of have to lower the bar a bit, because otherwise somebody's going to say, well, I don't want to be part of this group anymore. So where does that leave us? How does that create political change? I disagree with that the Norwegian documentary actually generated awareness. It created political response. But whether that's a long-term response, see, now that's the challenge. It resulted in immediate action, but we know with policies, there's a lot of areas in the world today that demonstrate inaction, political inaction. And this is an area that we need to take strong consideration of. And perhaps what is needed to create change is provocation rather than consensus. I don't know. But the fact that we are all here and we're in somewhat agreement, but we really do, very many have very different standpoints. But I do think that a significant key is long-term political leadership. And well, we'll have to see how if that's possible to generate, but perhaps through provocation, because then they can't avoid the noise that's being made.
Thank you. Well, it's good to be the last one to say something, but I'll go with what I said before. I think it's a risk that we stay with the end-of-pipe solutions for the water and wastewater industry. That is a risk. And I also think that one solution, as I mentioned in the beginning of the day, is if we could focus on a producer's responsibility. That why I think that is important. It's not only about costs and who would pay for the cleaning and stuff like that, but it's about, as we've done with a lot of physical waste, now we do it to dissolved waste, to put the responsibility where there's actually possibility to make changes. If we want green pharmacy, eco-design, the ones who do that should be rewarded. If you have to pay in the end for how hard it is to clean your pharmaceutical, then the good pharmaceuticals will be less expensive than the, from environmental point of view, bad pharmaceuticals. So that would be a way, but it will take a long time, but that would be a way to actually put the responsibility where the possible long-term changes could be made, and also if it's made in the right way, to do what I know that Bengt is always talking about, to make it profitable for the ones who do the right things.
Okay, thank you very much. I think we still have a few minutes, 2 or 3 minutes, and so we open up the floor for the audience if you have any specific comments or questions to someone in the panel. It seems like we are very much on 5:30, aren't we?
Everyone is very tired, I
Yes.
suppose. So
You've been brave.
Yes.
you have been extremely brave, you as listeners and guests, and you as our dear speakers. Thank you very, very much. I think we've all learned a lot today and even gained insights in each other's perspectives and viewpoints. So for us, it's time to close for today. The dinner tonight, whoever is registered for that, I think is in this building, but I'm not sure where.
Yeah, I think
it's also just over there.
Yes,
Okay,
it's there.
That's easy.
And you don't have to stand for the dinner. There will be tables and chairs. We can promise you. And we start at 1900, 7 p.m.
Exactly.
And then we see each other tomorrow morning at 8:30 in this building, and the wastewater sector in this room, and we will come with more information for the other session. But in this building, 8:30.
Exactly.
Okay, thank you very much to you all. Thank you.